We're ready to start the Y-axis assembly, and I've kind of reorganized things because the Y-axis is going to be 1,000 millimeters long. I want you to be able to see everything. I've also rearranged the table a little bit. I got the X and Y-axis assembly moved out of the way. It's completed. I wanted to keep, these are the parts on the mini mill that we may or may not use all of, that'll go on the new MMXL. So I want to keep those on the mat here so I can keep track of what I've used and what I haven't. These parts over here are parts from the mini mill that I know we will not use. It's the little brace, part of the tower of the mini mill, the two handles, one of the jog knobs, and the one of the plates, and then of course the old X-axis lead screw. So the first thing we're going to do, we need to build up the universal bill plate. This is now what I'm going to do. I'm going to use this and build a plate that'll hopefully allow me to mill the final plate for my MMXL. And so I've got a piece of MDF here, and it's 10 1/4 by 16 inches long. Okay, 16 inches is about 406 millimeters. The build plate is 216 millimeters. So that's going to give me, I'm going to be hanging off of this by 95 millimeters. Now, I don't have to worry about bumping into the stepper motor on the entering thing because I've got 610 millimeters of travel at least, and this is going to give me more travel, so this will never get that far. The plate that I want to mill to replace the bill plate is 390 millimeters long. Okay. And which is about less than 15.5 inches. And I'll be using an 1/8 inch bit to cut the new plate, so that'll give me plenty of room. So 16 inches, and the 10 1/4 is what I calculated to be my X travel with this plate on the back of the Z-axis. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do, you'll see here, I've marked out a center and quartered this off. So I'm going to use these marks to locate the marks on here that I want to take care of. And there's a center hole here, the center hole here, and then I've got these holes here which will line up. So I should be able to get this lined up just right. So I'll line up the center hole and make sure these other marks, and I did check square to make sure my marks were square. So I want to line up the center of these holes with the horizontal line in the center of these holes with the vertical line, and this on the center hole. It looks like I've got it there. So what I want to do, I want to mark all of these. I'm just going to draw a little circle because this is where I will attach this board to. And then I also want to mark where my screws are going to be. The universal bill plate does not have any recessed holes, so once I mount the V-wheels and the nut block, I'm going to have the screw heads protruding on the top. And what I'm going to do is just make an indentation in this board. I'm mimicking a little bit the C-beam machine build, but since this is a one-shot board, I'm not going to rise it off. I don't need to rise it off the plate. They use the 6 millimeter spacers to rise their plate off so it wouldn't hit the end plates on their Y-axis. I don't need to worry about that because I'm not going to go that far. but I do want it to sit flat on this plate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark all the places I have screws. So I'm going to have a screw for the V wheels here and here. I'm just going to mark those. And it's the inside row here. And then I'm going to have here and here. Okay. So I'm going to have those for screw heads sticking above the bill plate. And then I'm going to have for the nut block, I'm going to have one here and one here. So I've got all those holes marked. Okay, so I can move that off. And then I'm going to take, I'm going to pre-drill the center of those a little bit. Okay, get rid of that little bit. I'm going to use this big bit, and that's what I'm going to make the recess on these holes. I think those are good. Okay. So that's all I need on the drill, I believe. Make sure I got all of the outside ones pre-started. Pilot hole, and then I got these 6 where I'm going to have something made. So I'll put this out of the way, get my handy little brush here, clean up things a little bit. Clean it up onto the floor, that is. Okay, I wanted to do all that before I started assembling the bill plate, so I can set that aside. Okay. So now what we want to do on this is I want to install the V wheels. Now, if you remember, I've only got 2 of the extreme V wheels left. And so for this, I'm going to use 2 of the standard Delrin V wheels. So now I'm digging into my stash of replacement parts. Now when I get to, after I've made my new plate, my 390 plate, I will be using 6, I will use a total of 6 additional wheels. Before I do that, I will be ordering some of the extreme V wheels. Okay, so what I want to do here, I want to use these extreme wheels. I want those to have the, I want those to use the eccentrics. Okay, and so right now only one of them has an eccentric. I do have, so I'm digging into my stash of extra parts. I need another eccentric. Now these are actually some old stock I had, so they're the old style, but they're equivalent. So I'm going to use an eccentric on this. Let me go ahead and put the eccentrics in. Now the eccentrics are going to go over here. It doesn't matter which side I do, so I'll just put the eccentric in. Now I need to build up these, so I've got bearings, so I'm going to have to add bearings. I'm also going to have to use a couple of the spacers I rescued before to build these up. So if you remember, put one side in when you build these up, put one in, drop a spacer in, put another bearing in. I'm building this plate exactly like it's built on the C-beam machine. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to tighten these two have the eccentric spacers and these two have the standard spacers. So the ones with the standard spacers I'm going to tighten completely. Okay, that's good. So on the ones with the eccentrics, I'm going to face it to the outside. And I'm not going to tighten it real tight because I'm going to need to adjust them. And I've got to go find a wrench. I'm going to pause a minute because I have to go find a wrench for that old style eccentric. Okay, you won't have to go through that because when you order your extra parts, you won't get these old style eccentrics. I just had some from an old project, so don't worry about that. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing on this one. Point it to the outside and just tighten it up a little bit. I've got two different size wrenches I've got to do this with. Okay, now we want to bring in our new C-beam. So set the preload, okay? So it doesn't really matter which side, so I'll put this on, and it's very loose. So I'll take it and I'll tighten up the eccentrics, and I'm going to tighten them this direction. Hope all that's getting in okay now. So that's pretty good right there. I don't. That's good and solid. Moves nicely. Okay. So that's good. Okay. So we'll go ahead and take that off. Move this out of the way for a minute. We'll get to it soon. And now I want to add my nut block. Now I'm going to reuse the anti-backlash lock nut that I had from before. Okay. And so we'll need, remove these screws. Okay, and then, so I'm going to use these two holes here. So we'll put the screw in. And then the 3mm spacers. Okay. And then I'm going to set the nut block on here. Okay. And we're going to tighten that up a little bit. So that should be good on the nut block. Okay. So now I'm ready to add this. This is, I'll call it a riser board, but if my mill will come down far enough, I'm not even going to add another another spoiler board to it. I may end up adding one, but I want to make sure that, so notice, it may be hard to see, but that's sitting flat on the surface. Those indents I made are fine. So now what I have to do is just line up with these pilot holes here, and I'll go ahead and attach this. Now, these are the servo screws I have. They are number 2 7/16 inch, and with what do we get? 8 of them on the board. That should hold it for one milling job, which is all it's going to do. 6, 7, 8. Okay. And I believe it's the 2mm drive. So I'll go ahead and put these in the pilot hole, get it started part way down, get some of the others started, make sure it's all lined up. Now, these screws are great, and I use them for all kinds of things. I've got several links, but I love them. They've got a nice little built-in washer head, and I use a 2mm driver or 5/64, it's either one. You can get them at micro fasteners. Okay, so that'll complete that part. So now I've got my riser board or spoiler board. If my mini mill will reach that low, this will be my spoiler board. I'll add another one to it if I need to. I got a whole bunch of this MDF. By the way, I think this is 3/4 MDF. Yep, 3/4 inch thick MDF. Okay. So now we're ready to build. This is ready to go on the new Y-axis, and that's what we'll do next.